3 weeks, no one survived that valley. Soldiers whispered it like a legend, a phantom sniper team, picking off targets in the Colombian mist without a trace. Command called them invincible. Then a woman stepped forward, Adeline Carter, SEAL sniper, eyes calm as still water, her rifle weighing nearly 10 kilos. She studied the map for 20 minutes, tracing wind patterns in her mind, and said, "I'll handle it." 12 minutes later, all 4 enemy snipers were dead. But what sent chills through the military world wasn't the body count. It was the question: how did she do it when everyone else had failed? Morning fog blanketed the Sierra de las Nubes range, cloud forest they called it. From afar, layers of mist slithered across slopes like white beasts in hiding. Within that fog, 7 soldiers had fallen in just 3 weeks. No one saw the shooter. No one heard a second shot. Coalition troops dubbed the area the Dead Zone, a place hauntingly beautiful and so deadly no map dared detail it fully. Small villages clung to the mountainsides, tucked between cloud forest and ancient stone steps of a lost civilization. There, any figure on the western slope could vanish in an instant. For 3 weeks straight, the enemy sniper team operated unpunished. 4 of them, maybe 5, they appeared and dissolved like smoke. A single shot, perfectly precise. Range, 600 to 900 meters. Bullets pierced armor gaps, sightlines, even breath itself. All traces vanished into wind and fog before drones could arrive. Coalition Command deployed every tool: drones, thermal imaging, terrain radar. But the cloud forest reflected every frequency, like a cold mirror. Heat was masked by wet canopies, sound swallowed by mist. Every stone ridge, every mossy trail could hide a rifle barrel waiting. No one knew where they were. Only that, when they wanted, they saw first. First incident: a Marine advisor gunned down inside an armored vehicle, the bullet piercing the shoulder gap. Second, a Colombian Special Forces operative dropped before he could react. 5 more deaths followed, proving one thing the shooters never missed: tactical briefings turned into silent vigils. No one believed the tide could turn. The invincible sniper team, they whispered in camp, like naming a demon whose wrath only silence could appease. During long night watches, the echo of gunfire rang like metal striking the human soul. Each morning, as the fog lifted, another body bag was dragged back. Fear wasn't just a feeling, it became a survival discipline. No one dared lift their head too long. No one stopped on open slopes. The cloud forest was unreal in its beauty. Tropical birdsong, the scent of wet grass, sunlight slicing through mist into shimmering silver threads. But to the soldiers, that beauty was a veil for death. Every glint could be an enemy's sightline. Every shift in the wind could signal a bullet. In command's logs, the region was marked red, uncontrolled zone. Patrols became symbolic. Tech teams tried setting up sensors only for them to be destroyed by nightfall. The last drone flyover caught a single heat signature moving along a ridge, then vanishing. Conclusion: target unidentifiable. Dear audience, grab a glass of water, take a moment to relax, and keep listening to the story. The twists are still to come. And please drop a comment below letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always a joy to see who's joining us from around the world. Drop a 1 in the comments if you find this story gripping, so we can keep bringing you more captivating tales. At the small outpost in Santa Lucia Valley, lights went out earlier than regulation each night. Everyone feared a bullet through thin walls. In that silence, stories spread that the enemy weren't human, that they were Andean ghosts, seeing in the dark, hearing heartbeats through armor. One morning, Lieutenant Jake Morrison, commander of the reinforced SEAL unit, stared at a fog-draped topographic map. "We're fighting people, not ghosts," he said, though even he wasn't sure he believed it. Under him were 3 soldiers: Torres, a seasoned spotter, Webb, comms and security specialist, and Adeline Carter, precision shooter with 9 years experience, eyes cold as a winter lake. She arrived last, quietly setting her sand-colored rifle on the table, wiping it with a small cloth. Few knew much about her beyond her record. Operations in Afghanistan, Iraq, Hindu Kush. Her stat, never missed a real shot. She spoke little, but when she did, her voice was low and solid as metal. When told of the invincible sniper team, Adeline only smiled faintly, not out of arrogance, but understanding. She knew the battlefield's greatest terror wasn't the best shooter, but the one who believed themselves unbeatable. Out there, fog crept up from the valley floor, swallowing sound. The camp fell silent, save for the dry tick of a clock. In the command tent, under the weak glow of a red lamp, Adeline stared at the map's uncontrolled zone marker. She said softly, "Everything has a pattern. No one's seen it yet." The fourth morning at the forward base began in silence. No reveille, no laughter. Only the faint clink of metal as soldiers cleaned weapons in the dark. No one spoke of the invincible sniper team anymore. No one needed to. Each knew their odds of survival shrank daily. Lieutenant Jake Morrison stood by the terrain table, covered in red pen marks. His eyes were hollow from sleepless nights. Each death was marked with a dot, forming an arc around Santa Lucia Valley like a scythe closing in. "We're in overlapping fields of fire," Morrison said, voice hoarse. "Anyone leaving the defensive line gets erased." Torres, a grizzled spotter from Helmand, leaned against the wall, eyes tracing contour lines. "If it's really 4 shooters, they cover the entire west, north, and northeast slopes. They don't shoot randomly. They calculate." "Exactly," Morrison nodded. "They hit at fixed hours. 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sun's in the east, lighting up targets but shading their positions." Webb chimed in. "They never reuse a spot. No heat signatures. No radio signals. Like they know our counter-sniper protocols." Torres gave a dry laugh. "Maybe because they trained at schools like ours." The room fell silent. The half-joke hung heavy. The door swung open. Adeline Carter stepped in, still in her sand-colored fatigues, wrist wrapped in silver cord. She carried a folded paper map, covered in hand-drawn lines, not satellite tech, but the kind of soldier sketches after hours studying real terrain. She spread it on the table, so gently Morrison looked up. "The kills," she said, "seem random." "They're not." Morrison frowned. "What do you think?" "We're trained to think position after shot. But flip it. If I were the sniper, where would I wait for a dumb patrol to walk into my crosshairs?" She traced a triangle linking 3 high points west, north, northeast. "These create overlapping fire zones. They control every route between base and Bravo outpost. We're not stumbling into their kill zone. We're moving exactly as they planned." Torres looked up. "You're saying they know our patrol schedules?" "They don't need to," Adeline replied. "They just know where we're forced to pass. Terrain dictates habits. People repeat what they think is safe." She looked up, gray-blue eyes catching the red lamp. "To kill them, we have to think like them." The room grew heavy. Webb nodded slightly, accepting a bitter truth. To hunt the hunters, they had to become them, cold, patient, emotionless. That afternoon, Adeline and Torres climbed ridge south, overlooking the valley. She carried thermal binoculars but mostly used her eyes. "Ever hear of Sierra 9? She asked. Torres nodded. "Iraq sniper team? 2014, right?" "Yeah. 3 dead because they stayed too long in one spot." "Sniping isn't just shooting. It's reading human habits. The enemy's reading ours." She paused, gauging the wind's cold damp. "If we reverse the game, show them what they want to see, they might show themselves." Torres stayed silent. He knew that look, the look of someone who'd found order in chaos. That night, Morrison got Adeline's report. Her plan was bold. Use a Colombian patrol as bait, but with decoys, devices mimicking human heat signatures and infrared reflections. She called them thermal ghosts. We'll set 6 fake signals along the route, Adeline explained. When the enemy aims at one, our drone's thermal optics will catch their muzzle flash. Just 0.8 seconds of reflected light that's enough for me to know where they are. You'll counter-snipe in those conditions? Morrison asked, voice torn between awe and caution. No, she said. I'll wait. Let them think they're still in control. When they move after shooting, that's when I fire. The room went quiet. A crazy plan, but in its madness was a cold logic every SEAL understood. Victory comes when the enemy thinks you're still afraid. Morrison studied her, then nodded. You've got 24 hours to prep. Then it's your show. Adeline gave a faint smile, eyes fixed on the map. Outside, a distant rumble signaled a mountain storm brewing. The storm hit early. By 4 a.m., thick clouds rolled down the valley like a white cascade. Winds shifted constantly, slicing through trees like thin blades. The sky was so gray it blurred mountain from cloud. All aircraft were grounded, only humans faced the stirring cloud forest. Adeline sat calmly in a small tent, studying maps marked with black marker and a manual wind gauge. No radar, no drones, no satellites. Her plan now rested on instinct and experience. Torres checked the thermal ghost's 6 palm-sized devices emitting fake human infrared signals, blinking steadily like artificial heartbeats in the cold forest. Morrison stepped in, raincoat dripping fog. West wind, 8 miles an hour, shifting 3 times in 10 minutes. Not good. Adeline didn't look up. Better. More noise. Less predictable. He stared, unsure if it was confidence or recklessness. At 5:20, the team moved out. Each carried over 30 kilos, advancing into the pitch-black valley. The cloud forest was drenched, smelling of earth and rotting leaves. Each step on moss sounded like the ground sobbing. Torres led, navigating with a mechanical compass. Webb carried the signal antenna, linking the thermal ghosts via encrypted frequency. Adeline walked center, her .338 AXMC rifle slung over her shoulder, stock tapping her raincoat with a low thud like a steady pulse. At the designated zone, a small valley pinched between 2 ridges, 4 thermal ghosts were placed along the patrol route. The last 2 were set higher, on the western edge where Adeline suspected the enemy preferred to shoot. Light rain began. Tiny droplets clung to scope lenses, to thermal binoculars. Each bead reflected device light, turning the scene into blurred crystal. Winds whipped the slopes, carrying a distant roar. Adeline crawled to Ridge South's crest, with a clear view of the valley. She set her rifle on its bipod, adjusting the support bag. Torres lay beside her, scanning through binoculars. Visibility's dropping at 600 meters. They could move, and we'd see nothing. No matter, she said, eyes glued to her scope. They'll see what they want. Below, 6 infrared signals activated. On the tablet, faint heat signatures mimicked moving soldiers. In the fog, the naked eye couldn't tell real from fake. The real patrol moves in 30 minutes, Morrison radioed. If they shoot early, we get their position. If not, they're smarter than we thought. The radio crackled with interference. Rain grew heavier. The valley drowned in cold silver. Adeline lowered herself, breathing deeply. No birds, no insects, only wind. A sign. The forest was listening. She dialed her scope to 12x magnification, locking a -15 degrees angle. On the thermal screen, the ghost signals moved slowly, mimicking human steps. One crossed an open rock patch. A faint streak flashed on the western ridge. A millisecond, but her eyes caught it. Not lightning, not a reflection. A muzzle flash. West Ridge, elevation 1,120 meters, she whispered. Torres punched coordinates, but a gust scrambled the signal. We lost the reflection data. Can't lock position, Webb radioed. Adeline didn't wait. She adjusted her aim, shifting 5 degrees right, hand steady on the stock. Rain lashed her scope, but she didn't blink. 1 second. 2. Then another flash. Clearer, near the same spot. "Enemy position confirmed," she said. Morrison replied. "Hold fire. Wait for their team to show." Adeline stayed silent. In sniping, waiting was the hardest part. Muscles tensed. The heart begged to race louder than a gunshot. Then another signal appeared northeast ridge, 1,250 meters, 1.4 kilometers apart. "There," Torres whispered. "They're shooting in sync." Adeline nodded faintly. "They think they're hunting." Thunder rolled. The storm roared louder. Winds shifted, west to east, carrying thick moisture. Fog swirled like smoke, nearly blinding her scope. The thermal ghosts warped, blurring into the ground's heat. She looked at Torres. Winds shifted. "Everything's off." He tightened his lips. "So are they." Adeline's faint smile faded into the mist. "Good. Let's see who's off first." 6-3 a.m. Rain fell in silver threads, slanting in the wind. Fog thickened, until Adeline couldn't see her hand 3 meters out. The storm swallowed the valley, and within it, hunters waited for each other. Below, the 6 thermal ghosts kept moving, their faint signals enough to fool sensors. The real Colombian patrol advanced from the south, keeping a safe distance. They moved like shadows, unaware the storm was rewriting the game. Adeline and Torres lay on ridge south, 850 meters above the valley. Water streamed beside them, seeping past the rifle stock. In the wind, sound distorted, but each click of her scope adjustment rang clear as a heartbeat. "West Ridge." "Movement," Torres whispered, eyes locked on his thermal scope. She swiveled her rifle. Her scope's view blurred like frosted glass. A small shape rose among rocks, unclear, but the shadow under the outcrop shifted. "That's him," she said softly. 6, 7. A faint flash sparked. The first shot echoed like dry thunder. One thermal ghost fell. Below, the patrol halted, confused. Shot from 1,120 meters. -17 degrees angle, Torres reported. "Locked," Adeline said, not waiting. She adjusted for wind. 9 miles per hour, left to right. Elevation, -15 degrees. Range, 1,120 meters. Her finger rested on the trigger, pressure building until the barrel quivered. The shot fired. The AXMC recoiled lightly. Through the scope, she saw a black dot jerk backward, vanishing into rock dust. "One," she said softly. Torres barely reacted before another flash sparked northeast, 1,280 meters. A perfect, terrifying shot aimed at the retreating patrol. "Position 2, higher angle," Torres hissed. Adeline swung her rifle. Winds shifted, now southwest, cold. She adjusted windage, eyes fixed on the scope. She saw him, a figure half hidden in wet foliage, a black SSG-8 rifle glinting. One deep breath, one trigger pull. The bullet left the barrel, cutting through rain and fog, hitting its mark in 1.3 seconds. The target convulsed, then vanished. 2, she said. The storm roared fiercer. Rain lashed her face. Winds flipped left-right, then still. Torres scanned. Third heat signature. Northwest. 1,050 meters. "Moving!" Adeline pivoted to the new heading. Her scope showed a faint black line crawling along a rock ledge. The third sniper, retreating. She aimed half a mil low, leading by 0.3 seconds, compensating for wind. Shot. A flash. Then silence. The body crumpled, tumbling down the slope. 3, Torres whispered, voice disbelieving. One left. Adeline swept the terrain through her scope. She knew if a fourth sniper existed, he'd aim for her now, not the patrol. A faint sound came from the east, a stone rolling. Not wind. Not an animal. Too heavy, too deliberate. Torres held his breath. Same ridge as us, he said. About 400 meters. Adeline turned her rifle. Through the fog, she saw a low figure along the slope. He was aiming at the valley, unaware she was mere hundreds of meters away. Close range, tight angle, tricky. Wind stilled but fog thickened. Each heartbeat could throw the shot. She breathed slowly, cheek against the stock, finger easing onto the trigger. This shot allowed no error. She fired. The shot was short, sharp. Through the scope she saw the figure jerk and collapse, disappearing among rocks. Torres exhaled. 4. Adeline lowered her rifle, silent. She gazed across the valley. 4 positions, 4 kills. 12 minutes from the first shot. All was still only rain pattered on leaves. 6:19. Morrison's voice crackled over the radio. Confirm all targets silent. Send BDA coordinates. Torres replied, voice trembling with adrenaline. 4 shots. No survivors. Below, the patrol withdrew. The storm still poured, but thunder now sounded like celebratory cannon fire. Adeline wiped her scope, set the rifle down. No triumph, no relief. Only the quiet after a job done, the quiet of survivors and of those no longer here. She looked at the gray-silver sky. Rain streaked her cheek. 12 minutes, Torres said softly. No, she replied. A lifetime of training then. 12 minutes. As the storm cleared, the cloud forest left behind the smell of gunpowder and wet earth. The sky brightened, but no one at base spoke of victory. They stayed silent, as if fearing those snipers could rise from the mist. The coalition's quick response team climbed the mountain the next morning. Each sniper position was marked. 4 nests arced around the valley. All shared the same scene. SSG-8 rifles lay on stone. Scopes shattered. Bodies still in firing positions. None fired a second shot. Tech teams collected data, checking temperatures, bullet marks, coordinates. Morrison watched through binoculars, silent. Torres stayed quiet, as if speaking would break the stillness. At the final position, the ridge where the 4th sniper fell, Adeline was already there, leaning against a rock, AXMC across her lap. She wiped her scope, movement slow, almost meditative. Morrison approached. 4 positions. No survivors. No missed shots. Adeline nodded. I know. He looked around, empty casings, footprints in mud, wind whispering. How long have you been doing this? 9 years, she said, eyes on the gray sky. But last night, it felt like all those years were just for these 12 minutes. Back at base, no one cheered. Colombian soldiers lined the corridor, watching Adeline pass, their eyes mixing awe and disbelief. In field camps across the valley, rumors spread faster than radio. She took down 4 snipers in 12 minutes. No misses. In a storm, through fog, no drones, no radar. Alone, with just her AXMC. They called her Ghost Sniper, the 12-minute shooter, La Cazadora. But in the SEAL team, they just called her Adeline. Nothing more needed. That afternoon, a UH-60 helicopter brought Captain Mitchell, Regional Operation Commander, to the base. He stepped out, carrying a map marked with the 4 sniper positions, and placed it before Adeline. 4 targets. 4 shots. From 420 to 1,280 meters. In near-zero visibility. He looked at her, voice thick with respect. You just changed this campaign's tide. Adeline didn't reply. She didn't seek praise. For 3 weeks we were prey. Mitchell continued. Now the enemy fears the cloud forest. They won't shoot unless they're sure. Rumors are spreading that the Americans have a female shooter who never misses. He paused, then smiled faintly. I don't believe in legends, but this time, I hope it's true. Torres leaned against the doorframe, smiling lightly. They called them invincible, he said. Now, they whisper about Adeline Carter. That night, the base was eerily calm. Adeline sat alone on the porch, cleaning her rifle under faint yellow light. The rain had stopped. Mist lingered on the mountains, casting a silver sheen. Torres brought 2 coffees, setting one beside her. Tech team says your shots were precise to the millimeter. She sipped lightly. A millimeter off is death. He laughed. You always make it sound simple, like it's just math. Sniping is math, she said, then looked up. But surviving is psychology. If they think they're invincible, they're dead before I pull the trigger. A cold breeze carried the forest's damp breath. Torres studied her. Ever feel empty? She didn't answer right away. Then softly. Only when others start telling my story. When a deed becomes a tale, it's no longer mine. The next morning, as the sun stained the peaks red, the team gathered at the field airstrip. Mitchell read the final report. Operation complete. Enemy sniper targets eliminated. Santa Lucia secured. SEAL Element 1, 0 casualties. He looked up, voice low. 3 weeks, 7 of ours dead. But 12 minutes to take back control. Those 12 minutes will be remembered. Adeline stood at the back, silent. In her mind, the sounds of gunfire, wind, and thunder still echoed, as if the storm never faded. Victory was never truly peaceful. It was only quiet. 3 days after Santa Lucia, a helicopter carried SEAL Team 5 out of the area. From above, Colombia's cloud forest stretched like a gray-green sea, churning in the wind. The deep gorges fell silent where gunfire once rang. Now only rain fell. Adeline gazed through the open window. No smoke. No bullets. Just forest patches sliding beneath the rotors like a memory torn by wind. At Cartagena's naval base, the team was ordered to stay for tactical debrief. Military speak, for dissecting every detail, wind direction, shot angles, trigger pulls. For Morrison, Torres, and Webb, it was a chance to rest, eat, and sleep. For Adeline, it was when she realized something strange. She couldn't sleep. In the dark of her quarters, she saw muzzle flashes, blood mixing with rain, the feel of the trigger under her finger. Everything was perfect, too perfect. The only thing she couldn't silence was the quiet after the 4th shot. That silence lingered, a sound only those who'd heard it would know. The next morning, sunlight streamed through her window. A naval officer knocked. Carter, someone wants to see you, high level. She followed him through narrow halls, the air thick with salt and engine oil. A small meeting room. White light. A man in civilian clothes waited. No insignia. No introduction. On the table, a sealed envelope. Carter, he began, voice even. We tracked your operation in Santa Lucia. 12 minutes. 4 targets. No drone support. No radar. She stayed silent. Command wants you to know your results go beyond tactics. They prove that in denied areas, where tech fails, humans remain the ultimate weapon. He slid the envelope toward her. We're building a covert unit, ghost program. No admin footprint, no records. Mission, high-value targets in areas with no U.S. presence. She eyed the envelope. No name, just a black circular stamp. You're not obligated, he said. Join, and you vanish from official radar. No payroll, no file. But you'll have full autonomy on mission execution and choosing your team. He paused, locking eyes. We need people like you. Not just shooters but battlefield readers. People who act right without orders. Adeline said nothing. She opened the envelope. Inside, a small silver card, etched with JSOC, Black Directive, Level Omega Clearance. On the back, one line, if you accept, the world will never know your name again. That night, she sat alone by the harbor. Waves lapped softly, reflecting moonlight. Torres found her there. He knew. Mitchell says they want you for a black op, he said. She nodded. Ghost program. He exhaled, smiling faintly. I figured they'd come for you. You just proved you're who they always hunt for. She turned, voice soft. Ever wonder how far we go? From advisors, to sniper hunters, to ghosts? Torres stared at the water, moonlight rippling like liquid metal. The question is, can you handle the silence? No glory, no titles, no one knowing what you did. She paused. Then, quietly, silence is what I'm used to. 2 weeks later, Coronado, California. The first morning back, the sea was cold and salty. Sunlight glinted on the water, reminding her of muzzle flashes in Colombian fog. A senior officer met her in a secure briefing room. Command wants you to train advanced snipers for the new SEAL class, he said. But JSOC has an offer. We can't force you. Your call. Adeline eyed the packed training schedule. Teaching means sharing what I've learned, she said slowly. Ghost program means using it to change the game. He nodded. 2 paths. One builds warriors, one builds ghosts. She looked at the sea. Silver-crested waves crashed, indifferent. Maybe I'll teach, she said. But first, I need to know how much I can still do, before I vanish completely. That night, Adeline stood on the deck, wind whipping her hair, eyes fixed south. Somewhere, dark regions remained places no radar reached, where only people and their skills endured. She touched the silver card in her pocket, its cold biting her fingertips. 18 months after Santa Lucia, Adeline Carter's name nearly vanished from public military records. News from Colombia stopped mentioning 12 minutes in the fog. Among SEALs, they said she was teaching internally. In special ops circles, whispers spread. She didn't retire, she just changed her shade of darkness. At Coronado's training base, the sea churned each morning. Adeline appeared at the sniper range by 5, mist still clinging to the grass. Dozens of young SEAL trainees adjusted scopes, awaiting orders. She walked slowly through the ranks, gray eyes flicking over rifle positions, stances, angles. No praise, no smiles. Just 3 words. The wind doesn't lie. Trainees exchanged glances. They'd heard the story but didn't dare ask. Some said she took down 4 snipers in a tropical storm. Some said she vanished for 6 months in the Middle East, returning without a report. No one knew fact from legend. Between training sessions, she left the base regularly, disappearing for weeks without explanation. When she returned, she didn't say where she'd been. Only her eyes deeper, quieter hinted at things others shouldn't see. One evening, Torres visited Coronado on a short assignment. He found her at the beachside sniper range, wind cold, moon faint. She was cleaning her rifle the same, 338 AXMC. Still keeping it? He asked. It's not a weapon, she said. It's a memory. Torres sat beside her. Heard you're teaching a special class 0 light? Yeah, she said softly. For those operating in no light zones, no intel, no command. They have to be their own commander. He looked at her, then said slowly, You're creating the next you. She smiled. No, I'm teaching them what I nearly forgot, that sometimes surviving isn't about shooting well, but knowing when not to pull the trigger. The wind howled. Waves crashed like distant drums. Torres spoke slowly. Mitchell says ghost program's expanding. New people are looking for you. She nodded faintly. They always are. 3 months later, Adeline returned to Colombia not to fight, but to train coalition forces in the mountains that were once her battlefield. As the helicopter landed in Santa Lucia Valley, she saw a ridge south again where she'd lain, aimed, and fired 4 times. The forest had regrown. Rain washed away all traces. But stepping onto the ground, the familiar damp slowed her heartbeat half a tick, as if time folded, pulling her back to those 12 minutes. A Colombian officer approached, shaking her hand. "We built a memorial for those who fell here, but also to honor the one who brought peace back." She nodded faintly. "Don't honor me," she said. "Remember what they taught us, never think you're safe." In training, she stood before young recruits. On the board, she drew the valley's map, 3 ridges, the overlapping triangle. She told the story of 4 snipers, no names, no hint she was the protagonist. She said only, "They died not because they were weak, but because they were too used to winning. When you think the enemy fears you, that's when you bare your throat." A recruit asked, "Instructor, if we can't trust victory, what do we trust?" Adeline met his gaze, voice cold but light as wind. "Trust preparation. Trust that every mistake has a cost, and you won't let others pay it for you." The room fell silent. Only the rain drummed on the tin roof outside. That evening, she returned to Ridge South alone. Thick fog, winds carrying wet moss. She lay in her old position, cheek against cold earth. Through her scope, she saw the western hill, once an enemy nest, now just grass. But in her sight, she still imagined a faint flash in the mist. She exhaled, a smile flickering at her lips. A part of her stayed here in the fog, the wind, the slow pulse of those who knew each breath was a reward. Before leaving, she carved a line into a stone step with her knife. "No one is invincible. Only those who keep learning to survive." As the helicopter lifted her from the valley, fog swept in like a vast white shroud. Adeline looked down, one last time. Below, young soldiers gazed up. They didn't know she was returning to the dark once more, nameless, traceless. They called her the 12-minute shooter. But to Adeline Carter, it was never a legend, just proof of a simple rule. Preparation beats everything else. Before new SEAL trainees, she didn't speak of her shots. She spoke of silence, breath, the moment before the trigger, where fear and discipline meet. "Sniping," she said, "isn't about killing. It's about staying calm when everything around you crumbles." She paused, eyes still. The enemy is never truly invincible. They just think they are. And when you believe you can't lose, that's when you start to. In war, that can save your life. In life, it does too. Whenever you think you're good enough, the world will test it. And if you're not prepared, you won't get to learn again. 12 minutes in the fog weren't just a story of victory, they were a reminder. Never get comfortable.